Hey people, Dodger Dave. Happy Friday. I hope it's a happy Friday for you. It's October 16th, and we're going to talk about Jesus says, make America great again. Well, that's not all we're going to talk about, but that really is the crux of, or the center point of the issue here, because it's demonstrative of the programming that's surrounding us and emanating from all directions. I'll explain myself. So this morning I took a walk on a boardwalk on a popular tourist area, beach, or next to the beach, and it was difficult. It was difficult. Oh, I've got notes, by the way. So those of you who have recognized, honestly, that Dodger Dave is a stream of consciousness sometimes. This is part of my strategy. This is what I did with church talks and talks in in public. I haven't made a lot of public talks. I didn't have a lot of talks in church, but I mean, I've spoken in city councils and public meetings and school boards, and not a lot, but this is what I do. I throw down some thoughts to try to get some of that stream of consciousness somewhat organized, and then have the ability to possibly take a look at it, although without a seer stone and so forth, the legibility is a factor. But I watch this gal named Salma Jaffrey sometimes, who helps YouTubers to improve their presentations. And one of the things that she mentioned was something that I do, but it was, even if you know something, it's great to have a reminder to help you focus and delineate those things that are going to help you to do what you are trying to do a little bit better. So anyway, I took this walk in the morning, and it was very painful emotionally. I'm told I'm a bit of an empath. I could feel the pain and see so many people, sleeping on the sidewalk, in the fog, in the wet. People with all sorts of contributing issues to their economic inability to meet whatever is necessary to have the type of home, a non-mobile home, basically, to rent and call it by, real property held in estate, where they have a partial control over it, in an economic strata or in an area where, meet what's dictated by the area you're in. In other words, it costs more to live on the beach in Southern California than it does in Iowa, in between some agricultural fields, right? And so I spoke with a fellow as I was finishing up this walk and seeing so many people in so much pain, while others are going past, and you're wondering, how much are these people feeling of what I'm feeling, of the pain of those around us, and in our various levels of suffering through our existence in the American dream here in Southern California. If I might rag on my former bishop, Randy, who became a mission president, and he was a high councilman a lot. He was an elders quorum president probably when I met him, and then he became a member of the temple presidency, I believe, in San Diego. I knew another one of my bishops became a stake president and in the presidency of the Los Angeles Temple. And yeah, I've said this before. So Randy was I think he was like a CFO of a company that I'm guessing had extended him possibly some options, stock options or something. Anyway, I guess they hit the jackpot, and suddenly Randy went from a modest, $700,000 home in Encinitas to a house worth a couple $1 million. He and his very nice wife and very nice children. They really nice. They were all very, very nice people. When the company went big, and they invited the ward members to come out and see their awesome new pad, and of course, as devout members of the LDS Church, or at least his family devout members, and him appearing to be, he always acted. He's always a really nice guy. I just don't actually believe that people can get to that position where he is and not realize that it's all a big lie. But yeah, so Randy knew I was moving to Costa Rica, and that I didn't feel like, my wife and I were going to be able to pull off buying a house in the near future. I was in the mortgage business. I saw the mortgage crisis, which became the world financial crisis of 2007 to 2009, we'll say, coming ahead of time. So I was ahead of the game as far as preparing my strategy and preparing to move to Costa Rica so that we could weather the economic effects of the massive foreclosures that were going to come because of the ridiculous loans that were on the market, 7-point margins on top of LIBOR on 2-year fix, so they knew that people's 6% loans were going to jump to 9, and then they jacked them up to 11 by telling us that we're concerned about inflation as the primary hazard to the United States economy, people. Oh, we didn't see this stuff coming. Geithner and Bernanke, no, we didn't see this shit coming. Some lonely loan officer sees it coming, but they didn't. They're innocent. Yeah, right. But anyway, the public buys this bullshit because the media encourages them to do so with all sorts of things that appear to be presented as supporting evidence. So anyway, bottom line, Randy says to me, so the American dream is dead, huh, Dave? In other words, look at my bitchin' new pad. This is what you get with the gospel of prosperity. It might be what's implied through LDS doctrine, right? The Book of Mormon tells us, if you keep the commandments, you will prosper in the land. And so all the church leaders just happen to be prosperous. Prosperous has nothing to do with the network. No, all you paranoid schizophrenics that think that there's something on the inside and you're just not part of it. No, you're all fucking nuts. Those of you that see the larger picture, that understand that this business about Jesus wants us to make America great again, because that's the way he set up America, so that through your free agency and keeping the commandments of the Israelite God, his special daddy, the Jewish psychopath, racist, narcissist, human sacrifice receiving tribal war god named Yahweh, upon which the Romans piggybacked the Jesus character as a pacifist messiah, for the same reason we always have religion, to deify the state and to tell us, specifically through Christianity, to render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Shut the fuck up and obey, you bitches, and pay your tithing and taxes. If there's anything wrong in society, it's your fault. Anybody see any sort of cult mentality there? Well, that's what we did when we got the republics. When we got the republics instead of the monarchies, you can't blame the king now. You got to blame yourself. You're the dumb shit that put that Democrat in office, right? Or the Republican, and then you're always switching back and forth because it never gets any fucking better. Why is that? So that's all what this narrative is really about. I was noticing the results and feeling the pain of people who are not served well enough by the system which is not the system that they tell us that it is. You see, we've been told that the Israelite God helped us, at least in some of the religions, okay? We're told that the Israelite God set up this system, and if you're not buying into that, you've got the other side that, most of the constitutional, most of the founding fathers were deists, so they didn't necessarily follow the Israelite God, but bottom line was they set up a system where we've got these wonderful checks and balances, and it's all for you, baby. And if you keep the commandments, on the other side, what we're told is that, both sides are going to tell you, you follow the rules, things will work out. Stay in the system. Stay in school. Get programmed a little longer to be a cog in the wheel, though there's no soul left in your face. If you remember those Kansas lyrics, right? I added a little bit there. Yeah, you're just a cog in the wheel with no soul in your face. Why is that? Well, Mao Zedong put it well when he basically defined human beings as units of labor. What is a human being? What is a human? Well, if you looked at the right edition of Black's Law Dictionary, you will see a reference that says see, like notice, go to, refer to the definition or of monster. Monster, not a sea monster, sea monster. A monster, no, not some scary creature from a horror movie, as you've been programmed to believe is the only definition of that, but basically the rest of us, the fucking goyim that actually don't have any rights. We don't have, you think you have constitutional rights? It's not quite the way that you think it is. Oh, these are God-given rights. All this shit we were taught in the Manifest Destiny doctrines through Christianity and the Christian spin-off, as much as you Christians don't like me saying that, Mormonism, built on that, piggybacking on that, especially in the Book of Mormon, which in itself is a 19th century novel based on Christian belief system, filled with Christian concerns, arguments, etc., and the warning that this wonderful system set up so that we could be self-reliant and allow ourselves to be ultimately blessed by the Israelite God through obedience would allow us to prosper. But is it really that way? Are we truly an independent nation? What is a nation? Are we an independent people with a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, free from that British Empire, as the Book of Mormon teaches? Or are we still just a British colony, which is a Roman colony, which is why you're a tenant on the deed, on the property they told you you were buying with that mortgage? Something to think about. I know the answers to those things pretty well. So what I'm telling you is that it's kind of like when I noticed the J-Dubs, Jehovah's Witnesses, the people who were proselyting for the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society cult, would come to my door or accost you in other places because they're told, basically, this is part of your pay, pray, and obey program, bitches, or you ain't going to heaven either. They would be giving me the copies of their literature, their propaganda, the Watchtower, and whatever the other one was, right? And I noticed that the bait always led to the same scenario, the same conclusion. I'll give you an example. And what I'm getting at here is that when you see that all truth is circumscribed into one great whole, as they tell you in the LDS temple, the restating of the Masonic principle that all truth is circumscribed basically in one great whole, or part of the great science of magic, then all these things are interconnected. Everything is interconnected in creating the view of reality that keeps the proletariat, the slaves, the goyim, what do they call them in Islam? The infidels, in check, obedient, right? And that's why we have religion. That's why we have the media. And yeah, we do have a lot of fake news. But we don't have an independent, uninfluenced president of the republic. Republic is just pretty much another word for corporation, in case you didn't know, right? So, if we're just a British colony, if we're just a colony, and we don't have rights, I mean, okay, Mormons, brace yourselves. Here comes a naughty word. That's why it's impossible. Should I use the acronym fornication under consent of the king? All right, a naughty word in Mormonism because it's offensive to God because of the sexual purity doctrine and even mentioning sex. But what does it mean to fuck? Really? Fornication under consent of the king. So you have to have consent to have sex? Why? Because you're a fucking slave. That's why you have to have a license. That is the consent. That is the consent. Now it's like, hey, who gives a shit, right? But when adultery was a punishable crime, for instance, what does that constitute? Fornication without license. Without license. You have to have a license to marry. You have to have a license to do business because you don't have a right to have sex. You don't have a right to do a goddamned thing in the United States. That's why you need licenses to have your own business. That's why you're the tenant on the deed. Because you don't own shit. That's why they can take it if you stop paying the extortion tax, the rent. That's why they can take it, because it ain't yours, and it never was. So, point being here, so we've got all these things pushing this illusion and causing us to fight with each other. This election, Democrats will call Trump Mr. Divisive. He's an actor. The guy's an actor, okay? He's a Zionist puppet, just like Hillary Clinton, just like president after president. Oh, you're gonna say, oh, Barack Obama wasn't a Zionist, right? He's not serving the same powers that be. However, they all serve powers that are much greater and influential than they, because they are working as servants for privately owned corporate entities. These corporate municipalities, which are sub-corporations basically of the larger and the larger and the larger, just like, you know, atoms that form molecules that form things, right? Watch out, that might be COVIDian. Could it be contagious? Am I spreading herd immunity? I'm not going to say one hookup at a time. It just hasn't been happening. So, but it's a great theory, right? All of these influences, I don't care if you're going to a baseball game. Of course, now you're going to have cardboard fans on television, right? Whatever it is, all of these things take whether it's military day in San Diego at the Padres game in another year, and the Jets flying over, bolstering your patriotism. We support, thank you for your service. We support our troops. There we go. God, family, and country. Okay, family is good. God and country. Now, that's part of this whole program, to get you to believe that if you obey those who are placed in authority above you, supposedly a system approved by the Israelite God, then you will prosper. And there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. You see, all those folks that you're looking at on television, they make the big money because they are helping to program the sheeple. That's why we call it television programming. That's the real reason we call it programming, because they're programming you. That's what they're doing. So all these things create this illusion that we are free people. You see these posters up there, you know, fight for your freedom, support our troops, they're keeping us free. All these things are part and parcel of this illusion that we are free people, have God-given rights, we have a purpose on this earth, that if we keep the commandments as given by the so-called Word of God, this blend of Jewish and Israelite gods, you know, with other roots that I'm not even going to bother to get into now. If you obey, if you pray and obey, you'll be happy all day. Just like one of those little fucking mind programming videos that my kids watched from fucking Teaching Teddy, you know, some Mormon bullshit, which is drumming this bullshit into my kids' heads when I was buying in to the programming as well. So give me a sec to look at my notes here and try to remain coherent, because thinking of shit ahead of time while it's streaming out of my mouth is a multitask that, you know, there's something to it. Gonna pause. All right, you know, I think I'm going to keep this one a little bit on the shorter side. Need to do that once in a while, right? So leave them laughing. Great strategy. Meaning leave them feeling good. Leave the people feeling good. You know, so many people, especially girls, say, "I need a guy that'll make me laugh." Why is that? Why is that? Because people are fucking hurting. That's why. That's why. So girls want to laugh, guys want to have sex, right? Most guys are dishonest, so they'll just tell girls, "You're the only one." So you know, they can tell that to enough girls that they can get enough sex, because most girls don't want to have as much sex as guys want to have, unless they're an nymphomaniac, which is great, except for that usually comes as part of a psychological situation where you've got you know, what people might refer to as hypersexuality, coupled with some other disorders that tend to, I'm not calling that a disorder, but it tends to be associated with things. So bottom line, you're going to have sabotage of relationships. So guys, basically the only thing that's really going to work is to have enough girls to take care of the emptiness and stress inside you, that you're going to feel good enough about life because of the lack of connection that you have, and you're going to have more lack of connection because you're a fucking liar every time you lie to a girl and then break her heart. So, you know, it's really tough. So Mormonism really fucked up polygamy. Basically, I think that it's probably a great system, not Mormon style, but bottom line is most guys are pieces of shit. Not all. There's a lot of really good guys numerically, but on a percentage basis, now most of us are just fucking users and liars, and girls tend to be more sensitive and caring. So what we really need is a survival of the fittest things, kind of like animals do. Maybe, you know, like the monkeys, the baboons, whatever. And then when you're washed up, some other dude takes over and you're fucked. You're not getting fucked, but you're fucked over, right? So because most of us shouldn't really reproduce really anyway. Most of us are just not, you know, not good people, and a lot of us are, and if we're within these religions, then we're self-righteous. Our tendency towards narcissism and unrighteous dominion is the relabeling through Mormonism, which is exacerbated through Mormonism, because we've got the priesthood. And why do we have the priesthood? Well, because fucking Eve ate the fruit, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We'll just call it the apple. We don't want to think about the fact that she was making the, she was on the moral high ground, as we find in the LDS temple, where Lucifer was explaining to her, you're not going to progress towards godhood unless you go through some really difficult times to know the good from the evil, to understand the opposites that we've got in the, basically in the way things function, the yin and the yang, the black and the white, the opposites, especially that we find within the Luciferian doctrines that are taught in the temple, which are not necessarily all bad, not necessarily not true. But so Eve took the moral high ground. Adam was self-righteous. He said, I will not partake. Till Eve says, well, you're going to be all alone here, so there's nobody here for you to fuck when I've left the garden. Because they could, fornicate under consent of the king of the universe then, right? They were married. God licensed it, right? Of course, they might not have known what the fuck was going on because they were so innocent, and we know that innocent means you can't be involved with sex because sex is naughty, according to the Christian fucking purity doctrine. God, it's a circular mind fuck, isn't it? So, what does Adam say? You know what? I've been thinking about this for like a whole 2 seconds, for a good long, tenth of a fucking minute, and you know what? I tell you what, give me that thing. I'll take a fucking bite. So, who was on the moral high ground there? Really? Okay. Adam was just saying, I'm going to be all alone. I ain't going to get laid. All right, I'm in, right? But when the morally high ground was presented by Lucifer to him, you know what? He didn't even get much of a presentation. But who was it? Who was it that made the better choice? So the unselfish choice, the self-sacrificing choice, that, you know what, we're going to get through all this shit. It's going to be difficult, but that's what we need to do. That was the woman that made that choice. But in the Bible, what does it say? What does it say? Well, God curses Eve, okay? He curses Eve in there for making that choice, as we see in the LDS endowment, which is taken basically right out of Genesis, and with some Freemasonry added into it. And so, yeah, thy sorrow shall be multiplied in thy conception, or whatever. Basically, you're going to have really difficult pregnancies, and just, you know what, you deserve it, bitch, because you listened to the devil. All right? Adam was the righteous one. And in the New Testament saying the same thing. When we get this doctrine that's like, women be subject to your husbands, women need to keep silence in the church. All the stuff that Paul, the Paul character, maybe Apollinos, said, he justified it because Eve ate the fucking apple, right? She's a weaker vessel. She didn't resist the devil. But the LDS endowment really does shed, I believe, some light on that. But anyway, in Mormonism, we are taught in these articles of faith, hey, you're not accountable for Adam's transgression, just your own. Unless, of course, you're a woman. And then, then you are accountable, basically, for Eve's transgression, so you bear her curses and you must be subservient. Bitch, shut the fuck up. If you want to learn anything, don't ask in church, ask your husband when you get home. Wives, obey your husbands as under the Lord, all this shit. If you read the stuff that Paul said, in like Corinthians and Timothy, etc., yeah, but no, we should love God because he's totally fair and cool. He doesn't accept human sacrifice. His prophets don't human sacrifice people, like in Numbers chapter 31, or give virgins to the soldiers to fucking rape. No, get the priests of you to take care of for a while, and then offer them as heave offerings with animals. Yeah, that's human sacrifice. But let's just forget about that shit. God is good because your preacher said so, god damn it, or your bishop. Anyway, pray, and obey, and you'll just be happy as fuck all day. And if you're not, well, you weren't keeping the commandments well enough, or it's a test You're here as a part of a test. So when everything's fucked up and Jesus' promises don't come true, it's just that he's testing you so you can become a god. That's the Mormon version of it. But all these things have circular reasoning as a big mind fuck to get you to pay, pray, and obey. Religion is here to deify the government and or its offices, or usually not in a republic, it's not the officers, it's the offices. In a monarchy, they deify, the monarch, him or herself, right? It's all created for circular reasoning to create sheeple control. That's why they tell you all these things, and that's why they always have two sides of an argument controlled, and they're missing very important points. A lot of the points that I make, which are not part of the part they want in the conversation that the Lord has circumscribed that argument into. We must keep the argument and the discussion within the bounds the Lord has set. Same kind of thing when you see when Hillary Clinton and, I know an election back there, and Donald Trump were arguing. They could have laid some much heavier shit on each other than they did, because they're part of a much bigger network doing much more evil things than they talk about. So they talk about this little shit, and then you got some asshole like Bill O'Reilly, enforcing that kind of thing on Fox News when he's talking about, let's say, Barack Obama. He's like, oh yeah, we disagree. He's a Democrat, this, that, and the other. But what about those psychos that are like saying he wasn't born in this country, or whatever? Anything that's out, they're just fucking psychos, right? Just like you or some of my friends, or I am. If we talk about the network, the society, the fact that nothing or not very much is the way they've been telling us in school, on television, and at church, whether it's part of the atheist approach, evolutionary uniformitarianism, creationism, manifest destiny, or the uprising of the proletariat. And the Illuminati, who the fuck are they? Well, they're not exactly who you've been told either in your Manifest Destiny doctrine by people like, Ezra Taft Benson, or the Book of Mormon, calling them, the Gadianton Society and so forth. No, it's not that way at all. So the Book of Mormon says that the Illuminati, or who they're, really setting up as the Freemasons and the illuminated Freemasonry, they're here to get you to go back and worship and have a monarchy when God wants you to have a republic. But it's actually the opposite in real life. The Illuminati created the situation where we have a much more stable form of government through cult mind control that causes you to be at fault and not blame the monarch. In a republic that's privately owned with lots of sub-hubs, sub-municipal corporations, cities, states, counties, school districts, privately owned, all functioning as transnational investment banks who elect their board of directors, control policy, and those boards of directors just tend to be in the fucking network, whether they're members of Freemasonry, of the Order of the, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Rosicrucians, P2 Masonry, Palladian, whatever the fuck they're into, they're part of the network that's controlled. So when you got that bullshit story, the Illuminati guy, him and his horse got hit by a fucking lightning because it was an act of God to warn us that they were out to destroy the Catholic Church and the monarchies. I say that was an intentionally caused and leaked, that's like when Glenn Pace leaked, the business about all the Satanists in the church, in his report to the Strengthening Church Members Committee, the church's NSA, right? So that you could just buy into that narrative that these are just rogues. Of course, he doesn't address the fact that they all had temple recommends and somehow got past the magical discerning powers of their bishop and stake president, even had bishops and stake presidents and a patriarch involved with all this Satanism. And, one of my viewers talks about, people recognizing him as one of the satanic abusers. And when we say abuse, we're talking human sacrifice, according to Glenn Bishop Pace himself, presiding bishopric of the church, not some little peon middle management bishop, okay? He said, yeah, young women's presidencies, young women's leaders, young men's leaders. He named the women first, right? Well, 75% of the abuse victims were female, okay, according to Bishop Pace. He said he couldn't disbelieve them. Person after person had very, very similar accounts of, yes, having to participate. 75% of them had to participate in, or at least view, human sacrifice by temple-worthy Mormons. Bishop Pace said that Satanism is rampant in the Wasatch Front. However, these are just rogue people. We won't address the fact that they got past the interviews. It's not at the core of the church. The brethren are holy. They never would do shit like that, right? They're not in the fucking network. They don't sell you out. They're not pushing all these agendas of so-called globalism. No. Unless you actually read the shit that they say in some of the essays, like the one on race and priesthood. Yeah, no, it's all... No, they're not part of that. No, the Book of Mormon warns against it. They wouldn't be part of all that shit of the control network. So what I'm saying is, they give you portions of truth and then create this narrative based around whatever it is, either the atheist version or the Manifest Destiny doctrine, but they're never going to tell you you're all part of privately owned shit where you're the people at the fucking bottom. Okay, you get a little bit of privilege if you work your way up in some ways, but the priest class is here to program us to pay, pray, and obey, just as the media is. They all work together while appearing to be enemies, like Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, right? When I was in Costa Rica, I was speaking with an attorney for the central bank. We just happened to meet on a beach. This is not the same meeting with the other global banker, right? Global. God, now I'm saying it. Okay. And he said, yeah, I go to parties with these people. All this shit on television where they're fighting, it's all an act. It's all bullshit. They own companies together, all this kind of stuff. It's all a fucking act. There's the elite and there's the goyim. It's like a pyramid, because you got to have a lot of people at the bottom for these other fuckers never to do, anything good in their lives and to live in lap luxury constantly. So anyway, stop fighting with each other, Republicans versus... You're just getting stirred up unto anger, one with another. Like the Book of Mormon mentions, right? And, hurting each other because you're stirred up by these people just manipulating you. There are those who stand up and are trying to help others, and then honestly, a lot of these people are made fun of, and a lot of them are empathic and feel the pain, and it's very difficult. So if you get a chance to make somebody's day better, please do. Thanks for all the people that have helped me. I've had some contributions. People help out on my GoFundMe and shit. That's usually in the comments below. Or either, I think I can put a Venmo in there. Thank you. I've gotten through some really difficult times. I'm still, way behind, upside down. I mean, basically I've been financed by my car through future repairs and devaluation. By companies that rip you off, like Postmates, for instance, right? That pay sometimes less, equal to or less than, and in some markets more than, what the IRS says is your actual fucking cost for driving. For the delivery, not to go pick up the shit up. So, you're lucky if you're a Postmates guy, maybe you're a DoorDash guy, and, I think Postmates is actually the most exploitive and worst, as far as pricing goes, is breaking even by the time he gets to your door, or she. They may think they're cash flowing because they don't factor in, the devaluation of their vehicle and so on and so forth. But, yeah, I've survived up to this point. and with some very timely help from some of you who have contributed, and my daughter helped me to get in a better, get a real financial boost recently, without which I'd probably really be sunk. So thanks to everybody, and I appreciate all those of you who are subscribing, commenting, sharing to help make things, go out there to other people, and those who contribute financially to my channel, and to others that actually tell the truth, the real truth, not just the portion of the narrative that is circumscribed by the elite to keep you obeying. I'm out. Thanks, guys.